to this Bioprocess International Ask the Expert webcast. I'm your host, Leah Rosin, the online editor for Bioprocess International. Before we get started, just a couple of notes. This webcast is being recorded and will be made available for replay in the multimedia section of our website. The audio lines are muted. If you have any questions, you can type them into our chat window, and your questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Your questions in the chat window are only visible to myself and our speaker. Thank you for joining us today. It is now my pleasure to introduce Anne Thomas from Zoetis and Sebastian Levens.
Good morning, good afternoon. We are pleased to share with you some experience that we have regarding the MicroSec kit from Thermo Fisher. Our company, Zoetis, has more than 60 years of experience in veterinary products like vaccine, medicines, diagnostic, genetic kit tests and kits, biodevices, and services. Our vision guides our aspiration. Our products, services, and people will be the most valued by animal health customers around the world. And our mission guides our actions. So as said, we have 60 years of expertise, of history, and singular focus on animal health in order to bring customers quality products, services, and a commitment to their business. So we have roughly 9,000 colleagues around the world. So we are present in more than 100 countries, and we are involved in 8 animal species. So we have products related to 8 animal species. And as said, we have more than 60 years of experience in animal products. This presentation aims to share our experience using the Mycoplasma kit from Thermo Fisher. And you know that the Open Pharmacopoeia, and more precisely the 267 monograph, allow the use of nucleic acid technology for detection of mycoplasma, so instead of the culture method. And so that's what we will present now, and the use of this kit on one of our products, and it's something that was submitted to EMA. It's not something new. This kit exists since many years and was approved many years ago by FDA and also EU authorities. So now Sebastian will share more details about the use of this kit.
Thank you. To do so, we choose amongst the commercial kits available on the market, the MicroSec Mycoplasma Real-Time PCR Detection Kit from Applied Biosystem, part of Thermo Fisher. And this has the advantage to be FDA and EU approved for product release, and this allows to have an access on US and EU markets. And this is a visualization of the method taken from the kit. The protocol allows to start from different sample volume. In our case, this was the large-scale protocol allowing to test up to 50 ml that was chosen. You can also choose to process the cell culture media only, or the cell culture media and mammalian cell pellets pooled together or treated separately. We chose to work with the protocol process cell culture media only, but remove the first centrifugation part, where the pellet and supernatant are removed, as we wanted to process the whole product at once and not to test only a part of it. In direct extraction, we centrifuge the product at the recommended relative centrifuge force, discard the supernatant, and treat the pellet as recommended in the protocol. For the enrichment protocol, we inoculate the product into culture media, sample it at D0 and D3, then process as for direct extraction protocol as recommended by Thermo Fisher. The European Pharmacopée has a detailed chapter treating about the replacement of culture method for mycoplasma detection by nucleic acid technologies. They recommend to perform a validation on specificity and limit of detection. For specificity, they listed 8 mycoplasma species that should be detected and propose other species that have not to be detected that represent an optimal selection in terms of the frequency of occurrence as contaminant and phylogenetic relationship. For the limit of detection, the European Pharmacopée requests to demonstrate the capability to detect mycoplasma at a concentration of 10 colony-forming units per milliliter of final product. This is also in alignment with GMP recommendation for analytical procedure related to contamination detection. Whenever you look at a contaminant, you consider it as an impurities in your product. And we are in a limit approach since we are not willing to quantitate the contaminant, we only want to prove that it's not there. We interpret the data as absent or present, positive or negative. Those are the two minimum criteria we have to demonstrate to be compliant with GMP requirements. But we choose to validate also the repeatability and the intermediate precision as we wanted to make sure this assay is repeatable in different conditions. Concretely, we started to confirm the capability of the kit to achieve the requirement of the Pharmacopée in terms of specificity and limit of detection by performing a validation without the product. Amongst the recommended mycoplasma, we could justify to not include Paroplasma C3 and Mycoplasma synoviae in the validation study, as there is no exposure to such a contaminant in our product. We documented the intermediate precision by changing the test location to another laboratory, and we choose to work with the direct extraction protocol. Once this study has been completed, we started to work on the product itself, as we must validate the assay on each matrix to demonstrate that there is no inhibitor that could be co-eluted with nucleic acid during the extraction process. Specificity was not reassessed, as this is dependent of the kit design and not dependent of the matrix. We performed the limit of detection reassessment with Acoleplasma ledlawi, Mycoplasma urinis, and Mycoplasma orale to demonstrate that the requested limit of detection of 10 CFU per ml is achieved with the product. We documented repeatability by performing 2 extractions with each mycoplasma at the limit of detection, and intermediate precision by having a single operator performing the assay. Here we validated the direct extraction protocol and the enrichment protocol to make sure we could meet the LOD criteria in every situation as recommended by Thermo Fisher. So those tables summarize the final reading we can have for a product tested when it has been spiked with mycoplasma at the limit of detection. In product A, both direct extraction and enrichment protocol were able to achieve the targeted limit of detection. But for product B, we observed an inhibition while performing a direct extraction on the spiked product, preventing to achieve the targeted LOD. Although we were able to validate the enrichment method at the LOD on the 3 mycoplasma tested. Here we have some pictures to illustrate the results you might achieve while performing this assay at 10 CFU per ml. The validity criteria of the kit for a sample to be positive for the presence of mycoplasma is to observe an amplification curve before 36 pt with a melting temperature between 75 and 81 Celsius degrees. We usually are around 30 CQ when there is no inhibition of the amplification. And when you take a closer look at the melting temperature harvested, you can see that for some, this interval is very tight, especially for Acoleplasma ledlawi and Mycoplasma arginini that are close to the upper limit of 81 Celsius degrees. Also, some primer dimers in the notoplate control were found to be close to the 75 Celsius degree limit. It generated from time to time some difficulties for result interpretation and might trigger some extra assays such as an enrichment protocol during routine testing to confirm the absence of mycoplasma. So the difficulties we faced during this validation were linked to a matrix inhibition. This has been resolved by using the enrichment protocol provided by Thermo Fisher, and a little bit of interpretation hurdles as the specification of the kits were found to be tight with regard to the melting temperature acceptance criteria. This might need to redefine the melting temperature and to revalidate the range when this method is transferred on another equipment. To share some tips about this validation protocol, whenever this is achievable to validate a direct extraction, go for it. This is rapid and cheaper as you have to test less samples since you are not performing the assay on the media enrichment protocol. This is also sensitive to inhibitors and can generate some borderline results, mainly with regard of the melting temperature, generating some interpretation errors. The enrichment protocol was found to greatly reduce inhibition and to display clear positive and negative results. This also has the advantage to indicate if the mycoplasma signal is harvested from a living or a dead mycoplasma, as after 3 days of incubation, you should observe a clear shift in CT values in presence of a living organism in comparison with the signal harvested at D0. The downside of enrichment is that it takes 3 days, required to test more samples, and also might create a contamination and cross-contamination hazard that needs to be handled in a proper way as you end up manipulating a live mycoplasma broth. I will let Anne pursue on this.
So we had several questions from authorities, and but these questions were ones that we expect and not surprising, and based on all the advices that we got from Thermo Fisher experts, we were able to provide answer to this question. For example, regarding the choice between the culture method or PCR, which is something really specific to each company, but regarding the validation data, we had some data from Thermo Fisher. Based on the guidance from them, we built this different data and were able to provide this data to authorities. They asked the question about the limit of detection to compare between the PCR and the culture method, and something that we have explained during the presentation, and that also was clearly advised by Thermo Fisher, and the European Pharmacopoeia also provides clear guidance about how to validate and what is needed. So it was not a surprise to have the question, and it was not complicated to answer this question. And I said this kit is available since many years. It was FDA and EU approved also since some time. So using the kit and getting approval was something achievable thanks to the guidance from the EP and also the guidance from Thermo Fisher. As said by Sébastien, it just needs some practice regarding the inhibition that we can observe, the interpretation of some data, but globally the test of this kit is quite easy to use, and we have an efficient test if we compare with the culture method. And as said, it's something that was already approved in the past and since many years by different authorities. So thanks for your attention, and thanks in advance for your questions.
Okay, thank you, Anne and Sebastian. So we do have some questions from the audience. The first question is the MycoSeq assay used in all the Zoetis products or specific products?
So it's
Anne or
used in
Sebastian?
for some products. It's Anne. It's used for
Okay.
some products.
And are you planning to implement the MycoSeq for all your product process?
I have no idea of planning. Sorry.
Okay. And what selection criteria did you use in your evaluation of rapid methods as a replacement for the traditional culture-based Mycoplasma lot release test?
So in fact, the PCR or nucleic acid technology is described in the EP in the 2.67 document as an alternative method. So it's something that is described since many years now. And so this possibility to use nucleic acid technology like PCR is acknowledged and known, and this test is already approved by authorities, e.g., for example, the FDA or European authorities. So it was one of the criteria.
Okay. And why were the Spiroplasma citri and Mycoplasma synoviae not included in your validation?
It's Sebastian. So the EP explains the test culture and validation parameters are well described. So there is also, it also mentioned a list of Mycoplasma species which represent an optimal selection. And each company has to do an assessment to make the selection which is the most representative for them.
And you mentioned that there is a possible cross-contamination with enrichment method. How would you mitigate the risk of cross-contamination?
It's of course important to follow good laboratory practice as for any method, including PCR. It is also described that you have to pay attention to the positive control as a high potential source of contamination during the testings. And usual rules such as having different rooms, changing gloves frequently, etc., are applicable.
And considering the extra time needed for enrichment, do you find the method a better alternative to culture-based testing?
It is still a faster method than the culture-based testing. Indeed, it is still faster.
Okay. Are there methods other than enrichment to overcome inhibition seen in the direct method?
We did not investigate other methods. You might use DNA treatment in some case, and you can contact your field application specialist to provide guidance to overcome inhibition if you have some.
And I don't know if you want to add something here based on Thermo Fisher feedback.
Okay. So I think that's all the questions that we have time for. If we didn't get to your question, those questions will be provided to Anne and Sebastian to follow up with you directly. So thank you, Anne and Sebastian, for joining us.
You are welcome.
Welcome.
And thank you to our audience. As a reminder, the recorded version of this webcast will be available for on-demand viewing on our website, and as a registered attendee, you'll receive a follow-up email providing you with a direct link. We look forward to having you join us at future Bioprocess International Ask the Expert webcasts. Look for those announcements in your inbox. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.